Tensions are running high between China and India. This week, soldiers from the two countries brawled along the border, leaving at least 20 dead. The dispute is over a contested area in the Himalayas. The two neighboring nuclear powers have fought over the border before, but this was the first time in close to 6 decades that anyone has been killed. As Mike Armstrong reports, both countries are calling for de-escalation, but they're not backing down.
This was a message. Video of Chinese military drills in Tibet released this week. The goal of the operation, according to reports, to test their soldiers' capabilities fighting at a high elevation. The goal of releasing the video is to tell its neighbor, India, it's ready to fight at a high elevation. The two countries came to blows this week in one of the most inhospitable, unforgiving, and highest regions in the world. Now, there is no clear demarcation between the Indian-controlled and Chinese-controlled territories. The border is usually called simply the line of actual control. Even some of the lower plateaus are at an altitude of 5,000 meters, a height that affects everything from the human body to weapons and vehicles. Now, hundreds of soldiers from the two companies have been stationed basically facing off across that line for months. There's been fear of a flare-up, and Monday it happened.
As you can see, some soldiers being injured as
According to
well.
reports, it would have been similar to this brawl in 2017. No shots were fired. Soldiers fought instead with fists, rocks, and bats. According to India, 20 of its soldiers were killed. There have been funerals throughout the week. Indian officials say there were casualties on both sides, but China has not confirmed that, instead saying only its soldiers were on site for negotiations and were attacked. This foreign ministry spokesperson says Indian troops crossed the line, provoking Chinese soldiers and triggering the brawl. While there are calls on India to retaliate for the loss of life. Protesters burned the Chinese president in effigy. There are also calls for boycotting Chinese products. For the Indian Prime Minister, who was re-elected last year in a campaign focused on national security, the pressure is building.
Bharat shanti chahta hai.
India wants peace, the Prime Minister says, but if provoked, will provide an appropriate response.
Har haal mein.
The two countries in 1962 fought a month-long war over the disputed border. Hundreds of soldiers on both sides were killed. Tensions have simmered for decades. The two countries were scheduled to hold trilateral talks this coming Tuesday with Russia. Despite the dispute, Indian officials say they will participate. Mike Armstrong, Global News.
The remains of all 6 Canadian soldiers killed in a helicopter crash have now been recovered. 4 of the members killed were positively identified by Ontario's chief coroner. They include Sub-Lieutenant Matthew Pike from Nova Scotia, Master Corporal Matthew Cousins from Ontario, Captain Maxime Morin from Quebec, and Captain Kevin Hagan from BC. The remains of Sub-Lieutenant Abigail Cobra and Captain Brendan McDonald were identified just after the accident. The military says the bodies will be released to the families over the coming days. The members were killed when a Cyclone helicopter crashed during a training exercise off the coast of Greece in April.